And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and this is going to be a review of Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine's reworks. Now, I know there was a lot of hinting at this and a bunch of people who said they were leaks and all these fake leaks here and there, but the truth be told, they did get, in fact, a rework. Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine are both seeing a bump, a significant bump, and it should be pretty exciting to see them come and reemerge back into the meta. Now, Darth Vader's only got a few things changing. One specifically is going to be a unique that is not actually listed on here. We're going to go over all of it. What I'm going to do is pull up each ability and basically tell you what is changing on each ability, and then you'll see a little bit of gameplay in the background. So the first with Darth Vader is his Terrifying Swing, and his Terrifying Swing says it deals physical damage to a target enemy with an 80% chance to inflict ability block for one turn. That has been that way. Now it says Jedi targets cannot evade or resist this effects. It's now going to say Jedi and Rebel targets cannot evade or resist the effects of this attack. So all they're doing with Terrifying Swing is adding Rebel, so that way he can be a terror to both the Jedi faction and the Rebel faction. This is good since CLS is still a solid part of the meta, especially for players that are outside of the top 100, but even in the top 100, this is important. Number 2 is Force Crush. It currently says deals physical damage to all enemies and inflicts speed down and the damage over time effects, 3 of them, for 2 rounds. So 3 dots and speed down for 2 rounds. They're going to be adding that this attack cannot be countered. The cooldown will still be 5. It's just this attack now can't be countered. So when he does it, you're not going to have to worry about any countering foes, CLS or, anybody, Han Solo under CLS or any of the counter teams. Even if they had Retribution up, it doesn't matter. This cannot be countered. So pretty cool, because now he can do his AoE free from reprisal, meaning he can hit everybody with this without the fear of everyone smacking him. And what happened before is he would use it, and then, R2-D2 is so prevalent, he would counter and stun, and then Darth Vader was kind of out of the mix for a while, and he was slower in the past, and so that was kind of an issue. So this is going to give him and this ability more usability. Culling Blade actually has no verbiage changes, and the same with Leadership. Now there's going to be a 5th ability. This is going to be a unique, and it's going to be called No Escape, and its final text is going to be a Zeta. This is the full Zeta upgrade. It'll say at the start of each encounter, Darth Vader will gain 8 speed until the end of the encounter for each of the following. Okay, so he's going to gain 8 speed for each of these things that happen. 1, Empire allies. 2, Sith allies. 3, Jedi enemies. And 4, Rebel enemies. So think about it. If there are some Jedi and Rebel combinations, such as Kanan or Ezra, you're going to get 16 plus speed for them being against you. Also, if you have some allies such as Empire Sith like Darth Vader, as well as Emperor Palpatine, some of those Sith and Empire characters, you're also going to get 16 speed from those. So that is significant speed boosts, even if everybody only had a single tag, such as just Rebel or just Jedi or just a Sith or just an Empire. That is still potentially plus 80 speed without the duality of the tags. So pretty significant speed bump. This could make him one of the fastest characters in the game, depending on what team that he is facing. Now, there's not all for this No Escape. It is also going to say that Darth Vader is immune to all turn meter reduction. So he cannot have his turn meter reduced. So he's lightning fast, and no turn meter reduction is going to bother him. Plus, he's going to recover 5% health when a damage over time or a dot effect on an enemy expires. Now, we know when they expire, they renew through his ability, but that doesn't stop this from ticking his extra 5 health. So with each one, so if he's doing 3, and when that expires, those 3 expire, he gets plus 15 health. That will be on every single opponent. So he's going to maintain significant health pools because it's constantly going to be regenerating on its own through the damage over time that will be constantly expiring and then renewing, expiring and then renewing. So pretty exciting. This is definitely going to make him extremely viable against the Night Sisters, which will then bring the Sith/the Empire back into the limelight against them and also make them way more durable against any team. The only thing left is Darth Vader. People are wanting to know, is this going to make him worse in the raids? I heard a lot of people ask that, and the truth is this is actually going to give him increased viability and survivability in both the Rancor and the Heroic AAT. Makes him also really, really fast in the Darkside territory battles and extremely resilient with all of that health gain and the ability to not be countered. Remember, the Darkside territory battles, there is a ton of countering that occurs. They cannot counter on that Force Crush. All right, now on to Emperor Palpatine. Again, we're going to go through his abilities and basically talk about what is now different with Lightning Strike. It currently says dealing special damage to target enemy and shocks them for 3 turns. Then Palpatine gains 15% turn meter for each shocked enemy. That is going to remain the same. The ability is going to remain unchanged. However, the ability Shock prevents them from gaining health, any buffs, or any bonus turn meter. It has always done that, but they are going to add that text in there as to define what a shock actually is for those reading, because people reading are unsure of what shock does unless they research it. So this is nice. Now the shock ability is actually going to have its definition within Lightning Strike where it originated from. So pretty exciting that they're adding that. Just no big deal. It's not, the ability is not changing at all. It's just telling everybody what shock's definition is. As far as Power of the Dark Side, again, not a whole lot changing. Currently, it says deal special damage to all enemies with a 70% chance to stun them for 1 turn. So it could potentially stun all 5 people, but it's going to go through a potency tenacity check for each and every opponent that it tries to stun, and whichever it passes, it has to also pass the 70% chance as well. So this could be anywhere from 0 to 5 stuns, but the shocked enemies are stunned for 2 turns. So if they have shock on them already, it's going to convert to a stun. This has always been the same as it, or this is the way that it has always been. However, they are going to add that all allies gain offense up for 2 turns. All enemies gain offense up for 2 turns. Now, if you remember, the second special, Let the Hate Flow, used to be the second ability the AI would use, the second ability you would probably use, and it was the ability to put up the offense up and do damage to everybody and gain health, right? Well, they're moving this or shifting this to Power of the Dark Side. So the very first thing Emperor Palpatine is going to do is Power of the Dark Side through the AI, and probably for you, because this is an AoE or Area of Effect stun, and it's going to convert any shocked enemies into stunned enemies. Of course, it's now going to apply offense up for 2 turns onto your entire ally's side. Now, Let the Hate Flow is going to be upgraded. It is no longer going to state what it says here. What it's now going to say, and by the way, this will just end in Omega. So if you have it Omega, it will just convert to the new writing of all other units lose 5% health, and Palpatine recovers 150% of the total amount lost, okay? Because that ally's offense up has been moved to the previous Power of the Dark Side. But the next part, that losing 5% and gaining 150%, is going to remain there. It also says for each shocked enemy, gain 50% turn meter and refresh duration for 2 turns. It also is now going to have an addition called all allies will gain health steal up for 1 turn. Now, a couple of events ago, they introduced Health Steal Up. This was that event against the Sith. And if you notice, Health Steal Up was a positive buff that gave the character plus 20% health steal in addition to the character's existing health steal. So if a character has 15 health steal or 10 health steal already, it's going to get an additional 20% health steal, giving them 30 or 35% health steal. Pretty insane, especially if they're going against teams such as Night Sisters. It brings about a durability because it allows for them to gain their own health back. This is really, really going to help. Now when he uses the power of the dark side, it is, or let the hate flow, it's not going to hurt his team. In fact, it's actually going to empower his team to gain additional health faster. So pretty cool. I really like the health steal up being introduced onto Let the Hate Flow for Emperor Palpatine. Now, the next two abilities, Emperor of the Galactic Empire and Crackling Doom, are both going to be upgraded with a Zeta ability. We're going to start with his leadership ability first. And currently it says the Empire and Sith allies gain plus 32% potency and max health, and Jedi and Rebel enemies have a negative 32% potency and evasion. Whenever an Empire ally inflicts a debuff during the turn, they gain 20% turn meter, and whenever a Sith ally inflicts a debuff, they recover 20% health. Now, it is going to say Empire and Sith allies get 35% potency and 35% max health, so they're raising it 3% on those. Also, they're raising the potency and evasion from negative 32% to negative 35%. And of course, whenever they inflict the debuff, they get 20% turn meter. That remains the same. And the health, that remains the same. However, they are now going to add on this Zeta, when a debuff on an enemy expires, that's any debuff, and that is a lot of debuffs, remember. When any debuff expires, Empire and Sith allies are going to gain 5% turn meter. So all of the Empire and all of the Sith allies are going to gain 5% turn meter for every expiring debuff. Now, when paired with Darth Vader, whose damage over time do expire and get renewed, every time all three dots expire and renew, that is 15% turn meter for every ally, for every character across the way. That is a ridiculous amount of turn meter for your team every couple of turns when those dots or damage over time effects expire and renew. So this is a serious combo. Definitely is going to make him arena viable as a leader. Now, Crackling Doom has also been modified. Crackling Doom says at the old way, says at the end of each of his turns, Palpatine deals special damage to all shocked enemies, and then deals special damage to all Jedi and Rebel enemies. This damage can't defeat the enemy. This basically stated if he had done some previous shocks and stuff, he's just going to hurt them, and if they're Jedi or Rebels, he's going to do a little additional damage. With the new Zeta ability, it will say, while Palpatine is active, at the start of each turn, they take damage equal to 20% of their max health for each of the following. This is ridiculous. At the start of each enemy turn. So every single enemy goes and it's going to just destroy them. 20% max health, by the way, is ridiculous. This is basically equivalent to an expose. So it's going to give them an expose equal damage of 20% every single enemy turn to every single opponent if they're a Jedi or B, a Rebel. This is crazy. Or if they're shocked. So now, if they're Jedi, if they're Rebel, or if they're shocked, they're going to lose 20% max health. And this applies to each enemy's turn. This is absolutely overpowered. I love it. But that's not the end of Crackling Doom. They're now adding another ability saying this damage obviously cannot defeat the enemies, which it already said, but Emperor Palpatine's now going to have a plus 50% max protection. His protection pool will be 50% bigger. And when he inflicts shock, which is on his basic, he's going to gain a max 5% protection until the encounter. Now, if you're pairing him with someone that does protection regeneration, such as Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn does protection regeneration, his max pool is going to go up with Crackling Doom, and Thrawn will then refill that expanded max protection pool. So pretty exciting because he's going to expand his protection capability, and then Thrawn can regenerate that protection as well. So pretty awesome. This is a lot of damage that can be done just for him taking his turn. So obviously getting him fast is going to be important, and I think he's going to be the better of the two leaders. But we all know that Darth Vader is a phenomenal leader as well with this, all of this stuff. The rework didn't change Darth Vader's leadership ability. However, we know when he is leader, the dots are not going to be you cannot cleanse them off. So pretty exciting. I like both of the reworks. I think this is going to make both of them arena viable and should shake the meta up a little. If you were wondering what team Warrior would run, it's just like in the videos. I would probably run Emperor Palpatine with Darth Vader. I would also probably run General Kenobi and Shore Trooper because they're both going to give critical hit immunity and the auto taunt capability. And I would run Thrawn so I could regenerate protection on whoever is needed. Plus you bring in the fracture debuff. So this is exciting. I hope you guys like the reworks that have happened. As always, leave comments down below and keep your gaming on. Warrior out.